grappling and in MMA. Anytime you're on the bottom and we can get some clinching going, like we can play this sequence, so we're just gonna kind of work with that to kind of get warmed up and flow through, and then we'll, play from there. So can I use you? So we just go butterfly guard. So manage to get butterfly, somehow I managed to get double unders, right? I'm trying to get him and trying to elevate him, and I'm not able to get him to rock back all the way. So if I can't get the rock back, I can start falling to a side, and I can get right into my lockdown. From here, I'm digging deep underneath. He's gonna get his whizzer, and get to this position. From here, now I'm gonna look to go to homie control. So all I'm gonna do is come up, connect on the far side of his head, bring my right knee through, my left knee up, and get my control here. All right, and then we're gonna just work our way back in reverse. So then I go back to my lockdown, back underneath. Then I'm gonna go super stomp, back to my butterfly, back up, right? And then I can go back through. So we're just going all the way through this sequence, forward and backwards. To get warmed up, right? If I just hug his shoulders and my head's next to his head, like I have okay control of him, but he can make space and get his head lower than mine, and now I don't have anything, right? So when I get double underhooks, I like to come up and get S-grip, keep my elbows wide, and get my head under his chin. I want to be here. And now he can't, get out lower than me and start smashing me, and I've got control of him here. So when I pull him, he has to base and post, right? So play with that. When you get those underhooks coming up, get that S-grip, flare the elbows up, head under the chin, and use that to control him, and that'll get you to be able to make them base wider and make the whole sequence easier, right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Start the same way. We're gonna have the double unders. We're gonna go to lockdown. This time I can't get what I'm looking for, so I'm gonna go to the homie control. All right, and then we're gonna play from there. So the start is the same. We're here. I fall, I get this. I start looking for this. For whatever reason I can't get it. Maybe I didn't get him to base out far enough, whatever it is. And I'm like, fine. So I'm just coming back up, clenching on the far side of his head. I like to put my head right on the side of his head. Now I bring my knee through and my knee up. I can clear my foot to his hip. I can also just staple his leg. So it just kind of depends. I'm really long, so it's hard for me to always get my foot all the way through. So I usually just staple his leg here. If you can get it to the hip, that works too, right? So either way, and we're here. Make sure you've got good control here, right? And we're playing from this position. From here, just like we do in the warm-ups, I'm gonna test this arm bar. So I'm just coming over, sliding out, and I'm driving with my knee down in the center of his back on that shoulder. My head is high, so I have that counter pressure, and then my arm is just finding his elbow. And I roll it to lock it in, like you'll feel it, where right there it locks. And then I'm just putting pressure towards the mat for the finish, right? So I'm just connecting, right? If I wanted to break it, I just keep getting my hips higher to get my weight above his arm, right? When you're being nice, you can just leave your hips down, right? But if I wanted to really get into it, I lift my hips to get my hips higher than his arm so that my weight is on his elbow, right? Let's go back. So we're here. Oh, I look for this, it's not there. Come up, grab, I put my head right on the side of his head. Knee comes in, knee comes up. If my foot doesn't come through, I'm stapling. If it does come through, I'm on the hip and I'm pinching with my knee. Whichever version you prefer, right, or you can get. So we're here and I'm pulling tight. A lot of times he'll start trying to pull away from me. That's when I'll make this switch. And right here, I'm kind of framing his head to get my distance. So I'm here. and I'm hugging this. My head is high, knee is driving down. Right? I roll it to lock it out, then I lift my hips to get my hips higher than his elbow. Right? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. We're gonna start the same way. We're here, fall, I look for this, it's not there, come up, I get here and I get to here. So a little detail on this foot, when I get to this spot, I'm trying to turn it down like I'm trying to touch my toes to the mat to really pin and staple his leg, right? That's where I want this to be. When I bring this over and I start to frame away and he realizes he's about to get arm barred, he'll start driving back into me. When he does, I'm just gonna come back to my head and arm control. This leg drops, this one lifts. And we got an easy sweep and we're on top with head and arm control. We can already start setting up all of our S-mount stuff and everything from there. All right. Again, we're here. Fall into this lockdown. I look for this. It's not there. Get my connection. I come through the homie control. I'm stapling hard on that leg. The other thing that does is it turns my hips so I have even more pressure for this knee to keep him locked in place. So if I move around, like right here, it's really hard for him to go anywhere. So it's a super good control, especially if you need a break, you need to breathe, you know. So now I pop it over, push him away. As he drives back into me, I just regain the head. This leg chops, this one lifts, and we can go right into our S-mount, right into our arm bars or wherever you want to hit from there. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Little pit stops and a couple options from these different spots as we go. So we're gonna start the sequence the same way. We're gonna start with butterfly with double unders. All right, so I got my double unders. When I fall, I'm falling to the side. I'm not falling straight back. That way I can already be on my side when I get this. This arm is going high and I'm turning it over like I'm reading a wristwatch. If I'm low and I hug his hip, he can shoot for darces and jet neckties. So I'm raising it high. I want to feel like my shoulder on the back of his shoulder. And now if he can't darce me, he can't get the leverage. As I get here, I'm shooting my arm deep underneath his leg, right under his ankle, as far as I can get it, right? We're gonna do what's called the old school. We're gonna grab his toes. Where people make the mistake is they try to grab the toes first and you don't have leverage. I wanna shoot this deep, and then as I pull my arm back, I catch his toes. And now his foot comes inside. As his hip drops, I can come right up and make my pass. All right? So again, we're here. I fall to the right, get my lockdown, arm up high. I'm reaching under deep. As I pull back, I'm looking to catch his pinky toe. I pull it through, sitting into his hip, come up, back step through, right? In order to have the space to hit this old school, you really need to fall hard to get him to slide his knee out. If I don't do that, there won't be the space to pull his foot through. So if you get there and you pull and like his foot is running into your leg or running into his own leg and you can't get it through, it's because you didn't get him to base far enough to that side. So when I pull down to that side, I want to pull hard to get him to slide that knee out so that when I reach under, there's plenty of space for me to pull the foot. Does that make sense? Let's hit it. 3, 2, 1. Like, punches aren't a thing, all right? Like, he can't do any damage to me punching right here. All right? Nothing's happening. Like, you can't really punch me with any force here. All right? Like, try to.
Rips.
All right? You can't punch me with any force here. Right? So I can move back and forth between all of these positions, maintaining control of him, clenching him, making him uncomfortable from the bottom. And I'm perfectly safe, right? You know, so these are positions that show up a ton in MMA because people start trying to strike. And so when you clinch and you pull them in, now you have all of these options between butterfly, you know, lockdown, homie control, all of these different spots. It shows up a little less in jiu-jitsu, but it's there, you know. So, you know, if you can clinch your opponent and keep them tight, yeah, and usually in jiu-jitsu from the bottom, you're taught to make space. But when you clinch that person and you pull them down, it makes them off balance. You know, they're not comfortable. They're trying to regain their base. And while they're doing that, you're finding positions to start attacking them. You know, so it goes against like kind of a traditional jiu-jitsu mindset of creating space to get back to other positions, you know, to where you can start attacking. And we're just staying clinched and attacking the whole time, right? You know, so, you know, and that's why you used to see, like in the old UFC, you know, when, you know, jiu-jitsu guys would go to the cage, like Frank Mir stands out in my head when he fought Brock Lesnar, you know, and he pulls Z-guard and Lesnar just punches him into oblivion, you know, hammer fists him until they call the fight, you know, because it's like, you know, Z-guard doesn't stop you from getting punched in the face, right? Now he can't punch me in the face though. Alright, and now I can play all this stuff again. Right, so, you know, so just from a perspective of, you know, the difference between like a sport jiu-jitsu, self-defense, MMA, you know, when punches come in, CJJ, you know, like we've got to stay clinched and stay tight from the bottom so we don't take abuse, you know, and start getting punched and hit and slapped or whatever the rule set is, right? You know, so, but even in jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of control so I can move my partner around until I can find a spot to attack or sweep and get to the top and then play whatever game I want to play from there. Right? Cool. Let's get a picture.